At 14, I was slinging fidget spinners in the cafeteria and in the hallways at school. Last month, I pulled over $750,000 in revenue for my e-commerce brand Tabs Chocolate and personally netted more than $300,000. I'm a self-made millionaire, I'm 21 years old, and my name is Oliver Brocato. Today, I'm going to tell you my story. If you ask me what I wanted to do when I was older, at 13 years old, I'll tell you one thing. I wanted to be rich. From 13 to 21, I tried countless different business endeavors. From slinging fidget spinners, to running a social media marketing agency, to dropshipping, selling trinkets on eBay and Etsy, running Instagram theme pages. I've done it all. Some have been successful, some have been very unsuccessful. But that's all part of the journey. Today, I'm gonna be breaking down my path, year by year, so that hopefully you guys can get to know me a little bit better. My first ever real business that kind of took off and had some legs was the fidget spinner trend. I was a young freshman at the time. I was 14 years old and saw them take over my school like wildfire. I knew I could capitalize on it. So I called up my grandpa and convinced him to loan me $500. With that initial seed funding, I bought a 3D printer, a rubber mallet, and skateboard bearings. Every single day after school, I'd run home to my basement, I'd print out the frames, soak these skateboard bearings in acetone, which kind of got rid of the grease and led to faster and longer spin times, and I would hammer them in. I would sell them to my homies. And eventually, I assembled a team of commission-based sales representatives, friends of friends that would go around and sell my merchandise. We quickly tapped out the high school market, and fidget spinners got banned at my school, and I was like, fuck, what do I do now? So I started selling door to door, or speak to the business owners and try to convince them to buy 20 or 50 spinners at a time. But here's where things got really interesting. A party planner that did all of the kids' events in my town, bar mitzvahs, sweet 16s, birthday parties, etc. Parents would spend a fuck ton of money to make their kid look cool and stand out on their bar mitzvahs. And this party planner approached me and basically had this idea for me to set up a booth at these bar mitzvahs where I'd allow kids to print and customize their own fidget spinners. And it was a success. I was making like over $2,500 every single night. I inevitably saturated the in-person market. And so I kind of had this realization, like the only way to really grow this and expand this is to put it online. I didn't know shit about e-commerce. And so the obvious path was to list it on eBay and Etsy. And that's what I did. I vividly remember getting my first sale online. It was euphoric. It was fucking magical, man. I couldn't believe it. Some random person in some random state is ordering from me, and I remember going home, running back, making that fidget spinner, packaging it up, running down to my mailbox, and I was like, holy shit, like online money. And I got paid. It felt like it wasn't real. Like it felt like it was like a fucking scam. And then the orders started to roll in. It's like 3 to 5 spinners every single day. And so I knew I had to go all in on this. I started doing like massive keyword search. I started running like internal ads. I started an Instagram page where I'd promote my listing and drive external traffic in order to give it a boost. Things started to work. Things started to go really well. And before I knew it, I sold over $50,000 worth of fidget spinners at 14 years old. I knew I was onto something. As quick as the fidget spinner trend came, it left. I was watching Iman Gadzhi at the time, and he was talking all about the power of social media marketing agencies and how you can make all this money online at home without really even knowing anything or having a skill. And I had some skills at this point. Again, I grew an Instagram following from 0 to 8,000. So it felt for me like an obvious next step. And so after the fidget spinner wave, I decided to start my own social media marketing agency. I called it Star Social. The problem was that no one wanted to work with me, except for my barber. Shout out Rob and shout out Nick. Those guys were the fucking homies. They told me that they would give me a free haircut once a month, and in exchange, I'd run their social media accounts. I knew that if I could deliver with Rob and Nick and really make an impact on the barbershop, that it would be game over. I sat down and grinded my face off. I was in there every single day, taking pictures, videos, Instagram stories. And they took me in, they gave me a room to work out of in the back of their barbershop. More importantly, they introduced me to all these business owners around town. And before I knew it, I was working for the fish market across the street, clothing store 2 blocks to the right. And I realized that in order to deliver an amazing service, I needed to build a team. I need to build infrastructure and bring in killers in their respective fields in order to provide an amazing service. A photographer, content strategist, copywriter. I brought on a virtual assistant from the Philippines who also did my homework at the time. I was doing pretty well for myself until things started to fall apart. You see, the problem was that there's no such thing as attribution with just social media like management. And when I say attribution, what I mean is that there's no sort of tracking as to what the impact is. It was impossible to really say what the real impact was. But with paid advertisements, they call it pay-per-click, PPC, every single event is measured. And so what I realized was that I needed to get into that business Because if I could go to a store owner or a brand owner and drive real impact and drive real revenue, I knew that I would be untouchable. I wanted to learn paid ads. I was 16 years old at this point, and the best way that I could do that and really kind of learn that skill and immerse myself in that world was through dropshipping. I started like 8 or 9 like different dropshipping stores. I dropshipped everything: iPhone, like charging cable, to gadgets, to electronics, to kitchen supplies. In any case, long story short, I really could not find any sort of success with dropshipping. Maybe I don't have it. And I looked at all of these gurus, and I looked at all of these older kids that had the YouTube channels and had the Instagram pages. Is this shit even real? Like, this has to be a fucking scam. Well, I can tell you now today that it's certainly not a scam. Clearly dropshipping wasn't for me, so I kind of went back to the drawing board, and I was asking myself, like, Oliver, like, what's next? I was at like this kind of roadblock where I didn't know where to go. And that's when I had the idea to go back to my roots. eBay and Etsy was my shit back then. And I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna get back on that platform. And so I started selling phone cases and wallets and random shit. And I just became obsessed with growth hacking my listing to the top page and understanding, the back end advertising platforms that lived within these native platforms. I remember doing my first $1,000 day, my first $3,000 day, my first $5,000 day. I didn't have to buy any inventory. There really weren't any costs. I was on the moon. I was fucking killing it. And then the chargebacks hit. I remember logging into my Etsy dashboard one day and it was like 30 or 40 chargebacks. And I had a fucking mini heart attack. I had a stroke. I called up my supplier and I was like, yo, like, what the fuck is going on? And despite telling me that they were on top of it, that they were sending out product, they were lying. And shit fell apart really, really quickly. I had to refund probably close to 1,000 different customers. I lost every single dollar I had ever made. Etsy was a disaster. It completely flopped and shit the bed. 17 years old. I get approached by one of my buddies. His name's Jesse. He tells me that, he knows all the online shit that I've been doing. And he basically invites me to work for his mom. He's like, listen, my mom does like pretty solid numbers, through wholesale and retail. She's not doing jack shit online. I'd love for you to help her out. And at this point I was like, bet. I took a look at her website and it was astonishing to me. It was a shit website. Again, broken English, the emails were like incomprehensible. The whole thing was just like an entire mess. And despite that, they were selling like one blazer every single day. Here's a business that's doing like $400 a day with nothing, like nothing. There was no doubt in my mind that I could come in and really turn shit on. And that's what I did. In our first month, we went from $400 a day in sales to like $3,000 a day. And while I'd love to take credit for that, I will say a lot of these things were like super basic optimizations. But I came in and really revamped. And then one day, a reality TV star wore one of her blazers on TV. The next day, we did over $28,000 in sales. And the weeks after, we were crushing it. Andrea was very grateful. And then one day, randomly, I got a call. Andrea called me and told me that she was gonna be letting me go. She told me that she's kind of like gotten to this point where she needs like a professional agency. Despite like everything that I did. And I gotta say, like I was pretty devastated at the time. I crunched the numbers, I built out a spreadsheet, I even discounted it. I sent over an email. I waited 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, nothing. And so I decided to give her a call. And Andrea basically tells me like, hey, like listen, Oliver, like you're a kid, and I can't pay you that much money. Like, I don't even pay my store manager that much money. That kind of broke my heart, like I gotta say. Funny enough, last year I get a call from Andrea and she asked me, she's like, Oliver, like what are you up to? Like what are you doing these days? I've been through countless agencies and they're all shitting the bed. And Oliver, I'm actually still using the flows that you set up from ages ago. She's like, Oliver, like what are you up to? And I basically told her to fuck off in the most polite way ever. And while I was like pretty butthurt, I now realize today, the lessons that I've learned, the skills that I developed, all of that, I wouldn't be where I am today without it. After working with Andrea, I got approached by one of my buddies. His name was Al Maman. He was a serial entrepreneur. He was a few years older than me. And he took me under his wing. And he was kind of like a mentor to me. He was heading up growth at this app called It's Me. It was like this kind of like Omegle, but instead of like talking like through a webcam, the app basically scans your face and creates like some sort of like 3D avatar. And so like you're communicating with random people through like Bitmojis. And Alexis Ohanian, co-founder of Reddit, actually invested $15 million into this company, into this app. And he brought me on because he knew that I was young and I was hungry and I would put my head down and grind my fucking face off. Aman was pioneering a whole entire new channel, which was TikTok. It was TikTok Influencer Club. And this was like back in the day. Like this was like when TikTok was kind of like fucking weird. Like you were like kind of weird if you were making TikToks, and honestly like you were weird if you were like watching TikToks too. But it was ripe for an advertiser. And the reason being is because A, influencers had never monetized on TikTok before, which meant that you were able to get brand deals for pennies on the dollar. The second reason why being early was so valuable was because the viewers had not seen any ads on TikTok. And as a result, they were way more impressionable and way more likely to convert. Now, they see ads all the time and they just scroll past it. There's a lot more friction. It's a lot harder to get them through like the sales process. And Maman was a genius and saw this before anybody else and knew that he had to double down on this platform. And so he brought me in to be in charge of running the whole entire TikTok influencer collaboration process. And so I assembled a team of virtual assistants from the Philippines. I brought in 5 different people. 2 were list building. They'd go on TikTok and scrape through the platform and try to find as many US based TikTokers that had anywhere from 50,000 followers to 500,000 followers. They were small enough where they weren't going to charge you these ridiculous rates or prices because you're not paying for their brand name, but rather you're paying for the distribution. And secondly, TikTok had democratized the ability to go viral. And what that meant was that your follower count didn't really matter so much. It was more about your content. And so we were able to secure these brand deals for just pennies on the dollar and ultimately bring this app to number 4 on the social networking charts, right after Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. Unfortunately though, I got let go from It's Me. They told me that they had another fundraising round coming up when they were they had a lot of pressure to grow quickly. And they decided to replace me, who they were paying, I think, $3,500 a month at the time, with this influencer agency that they would now be paying $45,000 a month. You see, money wasn't a problem for them. They had money to burn. The only thing that they cared about was showing growth and showing astronomical growth. And while I was doing a good job, I guess it wasn't good enough. At this point, it was the end of my senior year of high school. I was 18 years old. I just got accepted at the University of Michigan, at the Ross School of Business, the number 2 best business school in the country. And one of my homies in the space that I'd done some work with years prior basically hit me up, and he told me that he was running this leggings brand. It was these viral TikTok leggings, and he was absolutely crushing it. At this point, I'm 18 years old. One day, I randomly get a call by one of my buddies that I did some business with back in the day. His name was Nico Pericos. Shout out Nico. He's an older brother to me. And he basically tells me that he just invested in this 17-year-old kid, Jake. Jake was this dropshipping wizard, absolutely brilliant kid. And Nico was telling me that I had to meet him. All right, let's do it. Let's hop on a call. We hit it off. And Jake and Nico end up hiring me to run their whole entire influencer collaboration process, and also come on as an operator, a kind of COO. And together we blew up the viral TikTok leggings. In about a year, we sold over $1 million worth of leggings. Jake and Nico took me under their wing and they treated me like a partner. And it was tremendous. Jake and I, we would hop on calls for 5 hours at a time and we became brothers. Jake and Nico ended up selling light leggings for mid 6 figures. At this point, I was listen, I've been working with all these amazing people and I've been learning so much. It's time for me to start my own shit. It's time for me to start my own brand. I have the skill set. I've saved up enough money. And most importantly, I have enough experience and intuition in the space that I know exactly what I need to do to go from 0 to 5 million. And that's what I did. So in the next video, I'm gonna tell you all about my brand, Tabs Chocolate. I'm going to tell you everything from start to finish. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe down below. Follow me on Twitter at Oliver__B1. Follow me on Instagram at Oliver.Brocato. I'm going to be coming at you with 2 videos every single week. Hope to see you guys around.